Hi everybody, this is Tina with Rehatch Designs. Hope everybody's doing well. I thought for this Thursday, we were working on our journals that we were doing that, let me get it out real quick to remind you. Oh, here we go. It is these two. I guess I'm calling them kind of my romantic journal, and I'm using these papers to go with them. I think it's gonna be really pretty, and these are just 4 of the papers that are in the kit, and I'm basically preparing 2 journals at once, which is not unusual for me. Usually when I am doing a journal, I very rarely just do one of a kind. I think my winter's journal was an exception, just because I really had bought that kit and I was just dying to use it. But normally I do at least 2, and that's only because to me the hardest part, or the only hard part of doing junk journals, is just mainly getting all the stuff out and putting it away. It just always winds up being kind of an ordeal for me. I just don't, the putting away part drives me nuts. It really does. Taking out, not so much, but the putting away, I hate it. That's how my craft room gets to be such a disaster. Anyway, so we're working on this, these 2 journals, and I'm getting the pages ready to put in there. And I thought this was a good process because I have a lot of new people, and I also have people that constantly are like, well, they don't know where to begin. And to me, the beginning just depends. I mean, sometimes I make a cover and then I decide later what I'm going to do with it, like I did in this situation. I got those gloves at a estate sale, and I just bought them not having any idea what I was going to do with them. And I think I had done the collage paper in one of our, you know, what to do with some of your papers, and the 2 just somehow ended up together. And so, you know, and then I was looking at papers at Christmas when things were on sale, and I found these papers, and I'm actually going to use these parts of this in another journal too. So just because I just like the style. But anyway, so sometimes I make the cover first, and then sometimes I find papers that I want to use first, or sometimes I think, oh, I'm going to make a Christmas journal, or maybe, you know, it just depends on the situation. If I find a book I want to alter, you know, like a golden book, or if I have another old book that I want to use the cover, it all just depends. Totally depends on the circumstance. But there is a process that you go through with your pages, and everyone's process is different, and mine has evolved. It really has evolved quite a bit. I never used to do anything to my pages before I sewed them in. I never did. You know, well, that's not true. I would sew on pockets and tucks and things like that. That was all I would do. I wouldn't do anything else. I wouldn't do stenciling or stamping or anything. Mixed media, I would do it after my journal was together. But now I've learned it's much, much easier for me to do all that stuff prior to putting my journal together. So that's kind of what we're going to do today. We're going to do some stuff that I know if you've been watching me, you've already seen me do. I am going to do this one a little bit different. in that I'm going to be adding some different colors and things along with all the texture, just to try and change it up a little bit, make it look a little different. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I've got these pages, and I have basically similar pages for both journals, and I am going to go ahead and do some mixed media on the back of these, because I'm going to put these in the journal, and they're going to look like this. And I could print just a plain, you know, lined paper or a plain paper on the back, which I do. But what I like to do on pages like this is I like to do mixed media on them. And I'm folding these because I like to know where the middle is when I do stuff. What I like to do is I like to make it to where it's decorative and artistic, but at the same time you can still write on it. And so basically both sides of this side and this side, to me, are artistic, but on the inside it's kind of practical because you can still write on it, okay? And that's just kind of how I do it. And I usually pick pages kind of like this to do that. And we will see. I have no idea how far we'll get on this. I'm going to just do 4 pages. I'm doing 4 of these pages in each of the 2 journals, but I'm just going to do 4 with you guys. And then if I have time, I'll show you some of the ideas that I use for pockets that are out of the ordinary that maybe you might want to use in your journals. I mean, I wouldn't say they're out of the ordinary, but they're not just the little pockets and things that you get with the journal kits. It's just how to use things differently. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and start this. And one of the first things I do is I have all this stuff piled in front of me. I have some gesso, and this is clear transparent gesso. And then this is heavy white gesso. And I use both of these. I used to just use the white, and then I realized something, that it's the texture really that I'm going after. And so if I put the clear gesso on and then I put the white on, what happens is it gets a really cool texture on here. So I am going to take, oops, here we go. And the clear looks white when you put it on. And I'm using here I want to put a piece of paper under that too, because I really don't want it. This is my mixed media mat, and I use this all the time. I love this thing. I'll try and remember to put the link on there, because if you ever want to get one, they're so great, because you can just pick up the mat, take it to the sink and clean it. You don't even have to do, you know, much to it, and they clean up really well. Now this is clear, okay? And this stuff dries, and this is just I don't remember. I think I got this at the dollar store, and you can just use a credit card or something, but this to me is easy, and I don't get my fingers quite as messed up, which doesn't really matter, except for the fact that I get to the point where I can't really do anything because they're so messed up. Now I like the texture in it, so I will go, and I don't want it on too heavy, but I do want the texture. So I'm going to put that all on there, okay? And normally I would just hit this with my heat gun, but I'm going to put this aside. And by the way, this is a cool idea that I've just started doing. I got 2 of these little, dividers at the dollar store and put them together. and I put it on the side of me. When I've got a lot of papers and stuff, I will just put stuff in there to dry, just so that I have a spot for it, because I have gotten to where I've done so much, you know, mixed media and stuff. It works really good for tags. Not great on papers because they're a little bit bigger, but you can just slot them in there and let them dry as you move on to the next. So I am going to do this. Oop, it's blotting out to all 4 of my pages. I put too much on there, I think. Where'd my towel go? I just had it over here. Anyway, I think I'll have enough for the next one. And all the clear does is add the texture. And I will put white on there too, but I've just kind of learned that it really adds a cool texture. So if you're not wanting to change the color of something, okay, now I did put way too much on there, so I've taken some of it off. It just kind of spilled out. This isn't thick like the white or black gesso. Oh, and then I just started, not on this particular journal, but I started using black gesso. I haven't really ever used it. I love it. I've had, you know, with bright colors. I am working on 4, if you can believe it, 4 gypsy journals. I've had so many people request that I make them one. It's crazy. 4 is all I can manage. And it's probably going to take me till the end of March to get them all done. They take a lot of time. Plus, I order a lot of supplies when I do those. And a lot of the stuff comes from overseas and different, in Europe and different, I mean, and it takes, it's taken forever to get things. So it's going to take me, if you're one of the people that is waiting, it will take, I said the end of February, but it's likely going to be March now, just because it's taken a while to get stuff. I made so many of them that I kind of just depleted all of my supplies, which a lot of stuff I get, I just use what I find when I go to the thrift store, and then I do buy some trims and stuff like that, but I'm pretty picky about what I use, so, you know, I just need to kind of just wait it out and get what I wanted. Okay, I got 1 more to go. So I'm going to do that, and then I will make sure these are all dry, and then we will go on to the next step. Anyway, I like this thing, but you can, let me see if I have a credit card over here. I know I have one somewhere. Not, well, not a credit card. I got this gift card. I hope there wasn't anything on there. Anyway, you know, all right. You can take that, and it does the same thing. And it, you know, you don't have to have one of these, but it came, there was like a whole set of these for $1, and I think I bought a couple of them. I haven't seen them lately, so I don't know if they still have them. This is the kind of thing when you see it, like at the dollar store or whatever, if you're here in the States, or I think they have them in Canada too, you need to just grab as many as you can, because you may never see it again. Okay, so I am going to go ahead, take that off of there and close that. Oh, I was going to tell you, I have some Ranger crackle stuff and some texture, and I was so upset because I went to go open it and it's all completely dry. I don't know, I haven't tried to re-wet it, and you know, the cover was on it and everything perfectly, so I am not happy about that, because that stuff was not that cheap, and I don't know if that's just a normal thing, you know. I think I used them once, so anyway, and the cover was on it good. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and stop the camera and dry everything, and we'll go on to the next step. Okay, so I went ahead and dried all my papers, and we're on to the next step. What you're going to end up with is, this is not completely dry, but it's dry enough. All we're going to do now is we are just going to take this is heavy gesso, and I really like this brand. I've tried some others. Some of them are a little bit too shiny for me. Some of them aren't heavy enough, and this cost a little bit more, but I've gone back to it. I don't use that much, and it lasts. I haven't had an issue with it drying up. I'm just really still not happy about those other texture paste drying up. But anyway, you're going to do basically the same thing. I don't try and cover the whole thing when I use the clear, because you're really trying to get texture. And also I wanted to say that I use parchment paper, and I will link that because it holds up to all of this stuff, that the mixed media stuff that we do, and still not being heavy like mixed media paper. It really doesn't feel any thicker than regular paper. It's just that the fibers in it are stronger, so you can do more to it. And so I print out all of my digitals almost always on parchment paper. And this is ivory, and I almost always use ivory. I do have some white, but honestly, I pretty much use ivory all of the time. But it holds up to all of the wetting and all the other stuff that we're doing. So anyway, I am going to go ahead and dry this, but first let me show you our next step, or maybe I'll just let that dry by itself. Okay, I already put the white gesso on this one, so you're going to do it just how I did it, and I did it all the same. And you know, your papers are going to get a little wrinkled and stuff, and that's kind of part of the whole look of this, is to have kind of a used look. Okay, so we put the clear on, we put the white. The next thing I do is, I don't want just this white, and you're wondering, you can barely see it. Why did you do all that? Well, what I do is I take my mixture of, this is alcohol and alcohol ink, and this is Ranger Latte in here, and I would say there's at least 20 drops. I'll fill this up with alcohol and put at least 20, maybe more drops. You kind of have to do it to what you like. And I use the alcohol in it rather than water because it dries really fast, and it permanently stains the paper, because we're going to be doing some other things to it. And if I just used like distress ink or something with water, that it's not permanent, so it reacts to water and reacts to other things. So I do use the alcohol spray for that reason. Okay, so anyway, we've got our clear and our white on there, and you're going to see why. I hold it up pretty high, and you want to get a good mister sprayer. Anyway, that's what I do. And what that does is it will start to kind of puddle up in there, but you'll be able to see the cracks and everything and all that definition that we just did a whole lot better with this stain on there, okay? And plus it kind of vintages it up a little. So we're going to let that dry. I have one that's already dry, and I'm going to show you what our next step is. Okay, so now that we have this and it's all antiqued up, that looks kind of cool by itself, really. I mean, you could just kind of stop there. It really does. You can see all the texture. And that's why I started using the clear, is that if you don't have to get the white all over. You can kind of just put it toward the middle, And then if you did the clear all over, what it does is it gives you that texture. And you really can't see it until you put the antiquing part on, okay? So what I want to do now is, and this is what you guys have seen me do before, but I am going to do a few things a little different. I use the Vicky Bouton Creative Fix, and I have it in 3 different colors. I also use texture paste sometimes, but my texture paste dried up. So what I'm going to do is take some stencils out, and I use these all the time. So these are the Tim Holtz stencils. Does not have a name on these stencils, but I believe I bought all 3 together at some point. I know you can buy them separately. They're really great for like tags and stuff because they're about that size. But I like to use them just to highlight things on a page. And I'll show you real quick. And I've already, think I bought them like 2 times already because I've used them so much. I will take, for instance, just this on a corner. And I use the same thing. I just wiped it off a minute ago, so let me wipe it with this one a little bit. It doesn't really matter, except you don't want to contaminate your stuff. See, this stuff is kind of the same thing as texture paste, and it didn't dry up, so I don't know, not happy. Okay, so anyway, I just use this, and I don't want a perfect line or anything across, and I don't care if it goes across. You're just going to glide it from one spot to another. You don't want to put it on too heavy. This stuff can be heavy, so, but I don't really, it doesn't take much, let's put it that way. Okay. All right, now I'm going to lift this up. And see, that's how it looks. And I'm going to do it over here. And the one thing I do, if you don't want this on the other side of your paper, make sure you wipe it up every time, because I have done that. It's not the end of the world. I think it just adds to the overall look. But, you know, you can always distress it or whatever. And then this, I don't want it perfectly the same. You got to realize that this is, you know, you will see this separately than that. This will be on one side of the signature. This will be on the other. But I do them usually at the same time. Because obviously, and this is what I was talking about, you know, I would always do things, you know, individually. I didn't always take my pages out. Now what I'm going to do on this is I'm not going to go all the way to the end, because this kind of line right here, I try not to get that, which I did get it, not the end of the world, but okay, so it just kind of doesn't show you as much of a straight line. Let me show you more on the bottom here, and I'm going to put a little bit on the bottom, but I'm not going to do a ton. I'm just going to kind of go just a little bit, and I'm going to go off to the side. And what that does is it kind of gives you just a little bit there. And I didn't wipe it off, but I'm trying to put it in a blank spot over there. And on this, I'll just put a little bit, just to give it a little bit so that your eye flows through the page. Put a little bit right there. Okay, so that's kind of all I would do. Now you can also, I am making more of a mess here. You can also, if you want to, wipe more of it off. Take this and go in the middle a little bit. Okay, and then let's just say you want to do just a little on each side. And then what that'll do is that'll give you, when you fold this, you're going to get, you know, half of this here and half of it there. And so what I would do, like that right here, I wouldn't even worry about. To me, that just adds more character. I would let this dry, and then I would go ahead and ink around the sides, distress, or do whatever you want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and let that sit. So that is one stencil. Put that up here. I don't want to put it in my little thing because I don't want it to touch it. And this is a big reason why my stencils are always a mess, because I don't always clean them off. But I'm going to try and clean them off a little. I do need to get some more stencils though. I love these stencils. I have some others that I bought that I like to use, but they're kind of a bigger design, and I think this works really good for the pages. So anyway, all right, I'm going to put that aside and put the top on. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another one of ours and do something a little different. Not a lot, but use a different color. All right. So I think this time I'm going, let me use that rag for my hands here. I'm going to take, which one have I dried already? Okay, here's one here. This is done. And see, I want you to just see that texture on there. It's really cool. I think I'm going to use, this is the same brand, but this is kind of a pearlescent pink. And I don't use it that much, but when I get a chance, I love using it. So I think I'm going to use this design on it. And I'm going to do pretty much the same thing. And this stencil has been well loved. So let me check something real quick. Let me get, there we go. I just want to make sure everything is in frame. And again, I try really hard to not do a straight line because I think it just looks better. Now this is a little bit more detailed, so you're not going to get the same kind of look as you do the other one, but it's kind of cool. And okay, I'm going to do a little bit more right here. This one I'm not going to do in the middle. Okay, so there that is with the pink, all right, and a different stencil. Put that off to the side. And I'm going to wipe that down and then wipe off this. I can never get it all off. Now see, these are starting to bend and break, and that's why I really need another one. I use it so much on so many different things. It just seems to work with a lot of different styles too. At least I think it does. Okay. Okay, I think it's time for a new wipe. Put that up. Okay, so I'm going to do one more stencil, and then we're going to do something different. Let's see here. I do need to spray this. This is the one that we did with the white. I need to spray it. That one thing too about using the alcohol is that it dries a lot faster than if you were to use water. So I'm going to do this up pretty high. And I just try and make sure I get all of it. And sometimes I'll get more spots than others, but I think that just always looks really good. So that's going to sit over here and dry while we're working on this other one. Okay, so this one, I'm going to use this silver, and I'm going to use the Harlequin on that. And I ended up getting a new one on this one because I couldn't find my old one, and then I found it right after I got this one, so. Again, I'm trying not to get a straight line. And I'm just moving these around to different spots just because I don't want to have to clean up in between, but sometimes that always doesn't work. Push that all the way across. All right, there we go. And then I will have to wipe that probably. I've run out of room. I have nowhere to go. I have gotten it on the back lots of times, but I usually just roll with it and distress it or do something. Like, see right there, my thumb got some on there. That's fine. To me, that's fine. That's like, you know, icing on the cake. It just makes it look even more distressed. Okay, so I'm going to do that a little bit. And I only do that just to add a little bit to the page. I don't want it to overwhelm it or anything like that. So, okay, so that is how we're going to do these. And I'm going to go ahead, I'll wipe this off a little bit. There we go. And let that one dry. And then the very last one, this is this one that, see, this is just about dry. And we went ahead and, you know, I'm going to wipe that up. I already got silver on the back of it. That's okay. Watch this, see? All that's going to do is add some more character to this page. Okay, it's not going to hurt it at all. All right. Let me put that top on. Okay. Okay, what I'm going to do, I went and laid that down again right after I just cleaned it up. What I'm going to do with this one is a little different. I'm not going to use any of those. I'm going to take, where'd my glue stick go? I'm going to take some glue stick and use, I bought this. I'll see if I can find the link for this. This was a huge amount of these flakes, these little, what do they call them? Oh, I don't know. Something flakes. The gold flakes, they're not foil like you use a heat tool with. These are just ones that you use with glue. And I like the look of these because they don't just go on like a heat tool where you just, you know, like you're putting it precision in some place, okay? They can, to some extent, you can use like sticky embossing powder and stamp and then put them on. But for my purposes, I don't want them to go on perfectly. I want them to just go on kind of random. So what I use, and you can buy special glue for this, but I just use a glue stick And I will go and take my glue stick and I'm just going to do half of this at a time, okay? And take this, because your glue stick will dry, and just take it and go all the way down. And I'm not being very precise. I don't want it perfect. And I'm just going where I put the glue stick, and I put it just on the edges. Okay. All right. And then I'm just going to kind of go like that. Where's my brush? I had my brush out a minute ago. And you can just take a brush. I really wanted my other. Here we go. And just kind of, this one's a little bit too stiff. If it's too stiff, it just wipes it off. So you want it soft. Let's see if I can do that. And you go and add as much, or you don't want, how much you want on there. I don't want a lot. I just want a little bit, okay? Now, all of these flakes, this always happens to me. My air conditioner or heater or whatever, it comes on right when I do this. Okay, let me get my other container out. I have a little, just a plastic container that I will take all of these flakes and put them in there because I use them all the time before they blow all over the room. They're very lightweight, so they blow easily. And I pretty much use the bigger sheets for this, and then I use the flakes differently, and I'll show you that at some point. But you can just take your paintbrush or whatever and kind of gather them all up in one spot. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and put more, and I'm going to burnish this down more in a minute, but first I'm going to get my little flakes on, and I think I might put some right down the middle. And I'm going to try and get another sheet. Now you can mix up, these come in copper and silver and gold. I'm just using the gold right now. And let me try and get a whole sheet out so you can see. So they come like this. That broke off. But you want to use the shiny side. Let me put that on there before it dries. Okay. And then I'm going to take some of this. And I'm really going to just break off a piece. And if your hands get sticky, unfortunately, it's going to stick to your hands. So, and I'm just putting this where I put the glue stick. And it's going to stick wherever you put glue. And I very randomly, haphazardly put the glue on there because I want it to be kind of peeled and breaking off. Okay, so that's one side. All right, let me do the other side, and then we're going to do something else to it. And obviously, since these are going to be on different parts of the journal, you could do something completely different on each side. So that's totally up to you. I did more on this one, hoping my glue stick didn't dry. If it does, it's not a big deal. I can always add more glue stick. And I'm pulling off these pieces and just moving them around. Apparently I didn't put much there, so. And you can take your flakes and put them on there too. They kind of have like a different look because they're kind of all crumpled already. And sometimes you may want that look, so. Again, I'm trying really hard not to be perfect. That's the point. You want this to look distressed. Like it's just, Okay, I don't think I put any in the middle right there, so I'm going to try that. Now remember, this is going to be in 2 different parts of the journal, so, and I'm just using my brush to kind of burnish this and blend it in. And see, you can kind of tell it's a different look than when you put it on flat, and I actually like both. And sometimes I just do that after I've already gotten this layer on. Okay, so I'm going to try and pick up some of these, although they're really small pieces, so, but you can still use them. And now this is all sticking to my glue stick. Oh well. And you can take this and put little pieces all over your page if you want to. Let's say you want some right there. You know, maybe you want some right in here. That's a good way to use your flakes too. Okay, so now that we've got, I'm going to take this and probably not going to be able to gather all these up. They're going to go all over, but that's okay. I do try and save what I can. And so anyway, I just take my brush then and I kind of just use it to take off the kind of loose pieces. And the rest of them will stick. I mean, you don't have to do any more. Okay, we've got glue there that does not have anything on it, so it seems to still be wet, so I'm going to do that just because I can. Okay, so then just do that and get the loose parts off, and that actually makes it look more distressed when you do that. Okay. All right, and so I do that, and it's pretty much dry as soon as you know, just whenever your glue stick's dry, which doesn't take long. But as you can tell, there's some pieces hanging off, and you don't want them loose. You want them to kind of look like they're on there. And what I usually do after that is I take my vintage photo, and of course you could use whatever color you want. And I will just kind of go over those spots a little bit on the edges, just to kind of vintage it up a little. And okay, and that just kind of gives it a little of a vintage look. And so this paper, when it looks in your journal, it would look kind of like that. So anyway, let me get the other ones out real quick, and then I'll show you. Okay, so now I just want to show you, all I usually do after this is I distress the edges if I want. I'm not going to probably use my distress tool on these, but if I were going to do that, I would do that now. And here all I do is just kind of do this. And if I want more on there, I do that. Let me show you what I mean by that. I usually always do the middle. Just a little bit. And then I would take this and probably go just a little around the edges, very lightly, where I've done my texture paste. It's really cool because it'll go in the cracks and crevices a little bit. Okay. Okay, so in the end, it will end up looking something like this, which to me is really cool because you still have all this writing area, but it's a decorated page. And in person, you can really see the texture, and it's really, really fun. And this page we've already done. This page I went ahead and did too, but I would probably add a little bit more. And also, this stuff doesn't take that long to dry. So I know it seems like a lot of steps, but it's really pretty quick. The gessos dry quickly. The texture paste dries quickly, so it really is not hard. And I only usually add 3 or 4 of these pages per signature, so it doesn't take all that much to do it. I think it adds a lot of character. You can do, it just really is a kind of a cool look to me. And if you want to go over your page, that will just make it look even more distressed. So I'm going to do the middle of that. I usually always do the middle. You do that with your distress tool, probably better. Anyway, guys, we're probably not going to have time to do the pockets. In fact, I know we won't, but basically, I was just going to kind of go over the fact that a lot of times you'll get pockets in a kit, and it's great to use those, don't get me wrong. But also think about using some of the papers that you get. You know, like I'm going to probably make some envelopes out of this with my envelope punch board and put that in the kit, in as a pocket. I am probably going to take some of the file folders and use those as pockets. The other thing is I will take a lot of the cards and things like that come in there, and I will use those as pockets and tuck spots and things like that. It's not that crazy of an idea, but it's just the idea that don't look at things just as they are. And of course, make things outside of the kit to add. If you do those kind of things and do things like this, you can take a kit as a starting point and use it to make your journal look very individual and very different from anybody else's. So to me, that's important. I really love using kits, but at the same time, I really make sure that whenever I do use one, that I put enough individual elements in it and I make them unique to me and my style and what I like to do, so that if somebody gets a journal from me, it's just not gonna be like anybody else's. I mean, I may be doing the same things, but it's gonna have my imprint on it, and it may look very individual. And I think that's what you want to try and accomplish. So even though you may be using the same elements, use them differently. Add your own artistic spin to it. You know, and that to me makes them very, very unique and very different. And that's what you want to try and achieve. So anyway, that's kind of all I had for this. I'm not sure if I'm going to do another segment on these journals. I haven't 100% decided, but if not, you will see the finished product, and you'll see some of this stuff in there. But honestly, guys, this stuff is not that hard to do. It's a lot of fun. It's a little messy, not real bad. But as you can see, I think it really adds a nice touch. And I like to use it on these pages like this, because I probably won't put a pocket or anything on this page because it's so pretty. I want it to just stand on its own. And on the other side, you know, I don't want to add anything to this because I like it. I think it's beautiful on its own. But it's practical. You can write in there. Or you can not. It just looks good. So, like I said, I do add those elements. And then I take things and from the kit and kind of add things to it. Like, I don't always do this. But like if I take the tags from the kit, I'll add my own little touches to them and that kind of thing. And make them look individual and different, and that way you're getting something unique. Anyway, that's all I really had to say for today. All right, well, we'll see you again next time.